Well, after a bunch of back and forth and a 10.5-hour meeting, Fort Worth ISD voted to extend virtual learning for another 2 weeks while gradually staggering in-person learning. It was quite the discussion. This after backlash from the district's previous decision. Last week, the board voted not to extend virtual learning for another 4 weeks. The meeting wrapped up around 3:45 this morning. When it was all said and done, emotions ran high.
And every time we get in this boardroom lately, y'all been proving me wrong. And I got to go out there and defend you again because you do bull like you were doing tonight. Stop trying to politicize something when y'all know that's not what we were voting for tonight. So you can go out there and look good and say you voted for choice. You ain't vote for choice because ain't nobody got no choice.
All right, well, the in-person date will now be October 19th, but that still needs TEA approval. And Mark, I have a feeling when you went to bed last night, you never thought you'd still be listening in this morning.
No, I thought they would have voted. They hadn't voted by the time I got up, wrapped that up around, I think around 4 o'clock this morning. Oof, long night for them. All right, so this morning for our Before the Bell segment, we've got our Zoom pep rally to help get us going this morning. And take a look at all those smiling faces from Ms. Shively's second grade class out of Friendship Elementary in Keller ISD. They seem like a very lively group waking up with us so early. I doubt they've had coffee because, you know, they're kids, but boy, they are energetic at 6:32. We will catch up with those smiling faces a little bit later on this morning. So not only are we dealing with the coronavirus pandemic right now, we are about to be in flu season, and we've certainly heard the warnings of the twin-demic. We want to bring in Misty Van Kampen, who is Crowley ISD's Health Services Coordinator. Thank you for waking up early with us, Misty.
Oh, you're welcome. Good morning.
Misty, a lot of parents might be wondering when is the best time to get their kids a flu shot. We've heard some recommendations saying to wait a little bit, some folks saying to go ahead and do it. What should we do this year?
This year, I would go ahead and it is recommended to go ahead and start getting the flu shot right now, especially for any children 6 months and older, and any of those adults that are in those high-risk categories.
I know some of the symptoms of flu and symptoms of COVID-19 overlap. What are you telling parents about how to spot the difference between the two?
You know, really, we work closely with Tarrant County Public Health, and you know, when we've actually talked about this issue, and you really cannot tell the difference between coronavirus and the flu. And so, you know, making sure that you're taking your child in to see the doctor when those signs and symptoms of the flu arise, and being able to get tested to differentiate between the flu and coronavirus would be the best advice I could give.
How concerned are you with a flu outbreak making your efforts to fight COVID-19 that much more difficult?
Definitely is concerning. It between allergies, the flu, and your common cold and coronavirus, it is almost impossible to tell the difference between them. So, you know, what I urge parents to do is make sure if you have those kids that have allergies or anything like that, that you would take your preventative medicine, your maintenance meds, especially for asthma and allergy season. And then for flu and coronavirus, seek that medical attention as soon as possible.
You mentioned allergies. As a parent of a kid who's got some mild allergies and mild asthma, I know that there are extra concerns about COVID infection for those families. What should they know as we get into the school year?
Absolutely. One of the things is that to make sure that they're going to their regular checkups, make sure that they're taking their preventative meds, their whatever that is for them in their regimen, and making sure that they're communicating that with their school nurses, that this is their, what their norms are versus what maybe a flare-up would be.
Crowley ISD's Misty Van Kampen, thank you for waking up early with us.
Oh, my pleasure.
All right, have a great day. All right, let's send it back out to Kara.
Okay, thank you, Mark. So North Texas parents are probably familiar with communities and schools But I want to know, have you checked out their COVID-19 Resource Center? They've got a lot of different things for parents and students. So CIS zeroes in on a student's lack of basic needs and social and emotional issues that might hinder their ability to perform in school. With many campuses closed and so many students isolated, CIS has compiled a resource list to help with basic needs, some online learning, and mental or behavioral health. So a few resources that stood out include social emotional learning activities that are all free and highly engaging, over 30 virtual field trips to places like, the U.S. Space and Rocket Museum or perhaps the Great Wall of China. There are also links to help parents find childcare and resources to get free Wi-Fi if you're still struggling. So for virtual learners, there are tutoring programs that touch on various subjects, and that includes foreign language, science, and math. So plenty of ways to continue to stay connected thanks to communities and schools. Okay, so we did talk this morning again about Fort Worth and a lot of other districts that are doing in person and then many still doing virtual learning. Full-time working parents have been forced to make some pretty difficult financial decisions and emotional decisions as well. So we spoke to a financial expert with an ABC plan for mom and dad or whoever is the caregiver out there. So I want you to check this out. It's easy to remember. So A is for awareness. Make sure you know all your options when it comes to working and balancing virtual learning. So mom and dad could switch off from staying at home with the kids, consider part-time hours or adjust your work schedule to an earlier or later shift. And B is for budget. Start by writing out your current budget. When you actually make the list, it can give you a whole new perspective. Your income, expenses, just make sure you're sticking to it. And remember, we're in a pandemic, so you might have to cut back a little more than you like to save for a rainy day. And then C is for communication. Think about how you're communicating with your older children during this uncertain time. Also, consider this, parents, if your job has asked you to come back to work, and I know that's beginning to be a transitional process, at least what I've heard from the folks I've talked to, they may actually have accommodations to allow you to continue to work from home, but you're never going to know unless you do ask. So make sure you do that. We know that a lot of people still need to be home to help their kids. Back to you.
All right, and speaking of those older children, if you have a high school junior or senior parents, I found this information just for all of you guys. It's all about student loans, financial aid, and how your child or students, if you're out there watching, can make sure they are being smart about their finances as they prepare to further their education, of course, following high school. I spoke with certified financial educator Rashida Thomas, a woman who has made it her life's work to help you eliminate debt and also not go into debt. Here are her top tips for handling student loans.
Don't take out more than you need. That is the biggest mistake that I made, is taking out more student loans than what I needed. And also, even while you're in college, don't stop looking for scholarships. And then also understand what type of student loans you're taking out, because it's a difference. When I was in college, I maxed out my federal student loan and had to turn to private loans, unfortunately. And there's a difference between federal and private loans, and you don't have the same, it doesn't abide by the same regulations, and you don't get the same perks as if you're dealing with federal student loans. So just understand what type of aid you're taking out.
And according to a 2018 Federal Reserve Bank of New York report, nearly 45 million Americans are dealing with student loan debt. So Rashida actually recently wrote an article offering 4 ways to de-stress as you get your finances in order. She says, number 1, accept that you have the debt and create a plan to manage it. Acceptance is key. Create a plan. That's number 2. Take care of yourself. And she also says surround yourself with the right people. If you want to read that full article, you can find that on her website, RashidaThomas.com.